Hi, Beat. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well today. It's a lovely day here.
Great to hear. Beat, we are going to continue our discussion on Japanese arms and armor. Last time we talked about armor, and we are going to continue uh, um, with that. First of all, we are not going to spend so much time on it because these horse trappings here, we
Oh,
already
yes.
discussed about that. I mean, we talked
Yes,
about
yes,
it a
yes.
lot, right? But just for those people who are haven't seen that video, just say some very short stuff. Then they can go. I put the link. They can go and watch our discussion on this beautiful trapping.
Okay, well, this is a barding, which is horse armor, uh, including a chamfron of a lacquered dragon's head, a kind of it's not brigandine, but it's like brigandine, small scales laced between fabric for the neck guard. The saddle, Japanese kura, has it looks like to me mother of pearl inlaid on black lacquer. Japanese saddles are basically a tree, and there are a few things that tie to them, and there are a few things that go underneath them. Um, but they're really elegantly made and very beautiful. You can see the abumi stirrups, which are like a slipper with open sides.
Yes.
Um, this is a unique thing for Japan. Other people make slipper stirrups, but they're a stirrup with a slipper part coming out the front, like in Argentina and places like that. But this is entirely different. This is just a curved piece of wood reinforced with iron and covered in lacquer with a fixed um, um, buckle at the top. So it doesn't have a loop for the stirrup strap to go through. There's old books from Japan which show a lot of early saddles in woodblock prints, and that wasn't always the way they did things, but that's how they're done now. You notice the reins are just cloth.
Yes.
This is very typical.
Yes.
Um, the other thing to point out is this armor would never have been worn in battle. There's no evidence that the Japanese armored their horses for battle. They knew about armored horses from the Koreans and the Chinese, but Japanese battle tactics really having an armored horse wasn't a great advantage because they're really trying to kill the guy on the horse. I mean, the Japanese aesthetic was that you want to deliberately kill important people, and then you got reputation, you got kudos. I'm the person that shot General such and such. Um, if you shot somebody and you just used an ordinary arrow to shoot them, then in the histories they would say, and General such and such was killed by a stray arrow, because you clearly didn't mean to hit him. You would have used a better arrow. And so therefore, uh, I look, you don't see an enormous number of paintings like uh, early paintings like 12th century paintings and that showing horses being wounded in battle. But you see lots of paintings of people being shot or beheaded or otherwise damaged. So I don't know whether horses were such a target. I mean, when there's huge numbers of horses, they always become a target. Uh, but I don't think the proportion of horsemen to infantry was ever great enough to make that necessarily true. Maybe just an accident, but definitely horse armor, as it appears here, usually from the Tokugawa period when these would be used when the daimyos every year had to spend 6 months in the capital, Tokyo. And therefore there were these long processions and they would have a horse led along wearing armor like this or something. It was just meant to be beautiful.
This what the museum have, because this is also, it's a very famous one which this museum has is from they say it's from 1800 Edo period, right? Okay,
Yep, that would be perfectly right. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
What
Undoubtedly, they're correct.
Beat, it's interesting. That's why I love these French museums. It was donated to the museum in 1875 by Siegfried Bing, right? A pioneering dealer of Asian art. So he had this shop as you say, the Fantasie Japonaise, and later his
Mm.
gallery Maison de l'Art Nouveau, being played a key role in introducing Japanese art to Europe and lent his name to the Art Nouveau movement. So it's very interesting to know about that as well, right?
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, well,
nice.
this is it. It's important not to keep in the front of mind that when Europeans were exposed to Japanese art and Chinese art and Persian art and whatever, it had an effect. Artists looked at it and said, "Oh, that's a new way of looking at things."
Yes, yes,
And this went. You look at Renaissance paintings of rich people standing around, and as a table cover,
yes,
they will have a Persian or a Mamluk rug
yes.
because this was the height of fashion at the time. Actually, I've got a Turkish rug as a table cover on my table at the moment because they're very pretty.
Yeah,
I mean,
very good,
and they're practical. They're well made. So
very good. Yes.
actually, I think mine's Syrian, to be honest. But this kind of exchange of ideas between Europe and Asia
Mm,
kept going on. I mean, Europeans sometimes conquered areas
mm,
and then all of a sudden decided they like the art.
mm.
The English in India, for instance, there's
Yes,
so many Indian ideas that went into
yes,
later English art.
absolutely. So you
And
just see another
yeah,
picture again for
oh yeah, isn't
detailed
this beautifully
discussion. You
done?
can see the video, but just
Yeah,
for detail.
but you see, everything is finished. Everything is thought out. Like the design is well thought out.
Very beautiful.
Um, it's really good. The kind of fringe that's acting as a breastplate. This is what you call the strap that goes from the saddle in front of the horse's chest. Ordinary saddles had these.
Yes,
This is a real part of everyday horse equipment,
yes,
as is the saddle itself, even though it's inlaid with mother of pearl and semi-precious stones and that.
yes,
People really rode horses using these.
yes. So let's go to the helmets, Kabuto helmets. They're all also
Um,
steel helmet, iron steel helmets. So these are these three, and let us go through them one by one. This is the first one. Please take a look at that. This is what the museum calls, as you can see, Sanmai Boshi no Kabuto, 1600. Look at this beat.
yeah. So yeah, I'm guessing Sanmai might mean three plates or something
Three
like that
plates,
because
exactly. That's what it
yeah,
means. Absolutely.
that's a three-plate helmet. So it's got a center plate and two side plates.
Yes, that's it.
The decorative thing in the front isn't counted as one of the plates, and neither is the visor.
Yes, exactly.
The three-plate helmet was developed uh, uh, about, I don't know, 50 to 75 years before the Tokugawa established the last shogunate. Um, and it was a lot more people were wearing armor.
Yeah.
So they had to make it cheaper. And this was much cheaper than making a 32 plate or a 64 plate helmet.
Yes.
Because those helmets with the beautiful ridges, each ridge represents the edge of a plate.
Yes.
There's an enormous amount of work in one of those.
Yes.
And they're heavy. I mean, they will protect you from a sword blow, but they're very heavy to wear.
Yes.
These are equally protective, though this is incredibly decorative and beautiful. These are equally protective, but they're much easier to make.
Yes.
So the two side plates are riveted to
Yes.
the central plate, and that can be embellished with lacquer three-dimensionally. So it looks like something entirely different. You look inside and you take the lining out, and this is steel.
Yes. It's a
It's a
solid
real helmet.
helmet beat. Do you see that? Really solid.
Yeah. Well, you notice how they sometimes raise the edges. There's all kinds of decorative metalwork goes into a practical helmet. I mean, this is a high status helmet.
Yeah.
And what was originally made for Ashigaru, the retainers to wear, became high status over time because people making armor were artists and they kept improving the look of it while maintaining its function. So
Yes.
these are pretty good helmets. If you want to look very good when you're in battle, if you're an important person, because
Yes.
everybody talks about it. Um, but you also want armor that really works, and this does.
Yes. The next one beat is Nimai Kabuto, two-piece helmet. You see that?
Yeah, joined down the center. This is much more typical of, say, a Chinese or Manchu helmet to have it joined down the center like that. And of course, um, there is a similarity between both of them to Sasanian helmets, which
Yes.
sometimes had these
Absolutely.
facilities. Now it's interesting. See, they would raise like they'd get a flat sheet of metal and beat it out to each side of the helmet, and then they would rivet it together. And I'm
Mhm.
just looking. I think you can see traces of the riveting. They may have a strip inside that's riveted to both sides, and then they polish the tops of the rivets down so it looks like there's nothing there, and then they lacquer it
Yes.
and put color on it. Um, this is a very again a really practical helmet type. I mean, in Europe, Morians, the ones that curl up
Yes.
there with the big crest on, often they were made in two pieces too. It's a response to the fact that once upon a time, only the top samurai had good armor, and everybody else was just doing whatever they could. But as time progressed, battles got bigger, armies got bigger. They had to produce
Yes.
practical armor that for lots of people. And then once it became common, then it became embellished and became beautiful.
Mm.
And then the rich people wanted to wear it as well. So,
Yes. Pete,
the
this
fishtail one.
one is what
Yes.
they call fishtail kabuto.
Yeah. It really, to me, it looks like one of those conical hats where they folded the top down to look like
Yes.
a fish's tail. Um, that folded out piece may be metal, or it can even be just made of wood covered in lacquer and have a normal bowl underneath
This
it.
one is metal beat. This one is metal. But okay,
Yeah.
you mean the
Well,
other
see,
one.
that's
Yes.
yeah, that's rarer and also tends to suggest that there, if you're looking at three tiers of armor production, you've got your practical, you've got your middle of the road, and then you've got your top level. And the top level tends to have things like making those things out of metal. The middle of the road would do a lot of the embellishment in lacquer because it's cheaper.
Yes,
Um,
cheaper, definitely.
uh, when you think of the amount of time put into it, it's much quicker to make a helmet out of metal than it is to lacquer it
Yeah.
because you have 50 to 100 layers of lacquer. Each one has to dry for several days before it's a real tedious process, but the material doesn't cost as much.
Yes. So this is this one. So again, this is what we saw 1600, 1650,
Yeah.
1580 to 1600. Now we go
Yeah.
to
So
another set. Excuse me.
yeah. Well, now we're
We
getting
just
some
go here.
really extraordinary. Yes.
Nanatsu Kabuto. 1600. Look at this
I'm
one.
trying to work it. See, Nan normally means south. Um,
Okay, they say
I
it's a type of Japanese kawari kabuto, which is decorative helmet,
catfish.
unusual helmet, right?
Oh,
And
it's
they
certainly
say,
unusual. I mean, you can see the fishy tail kind of thing,
yes, and
or
they
the
call it
fins.
catfish. Namatsu is
Mm.
catfish. So this
Right. So
represents a cat.
Namatsu. I misread it. Yeah.
Yes.
Namatsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is individuals saying, "I am Lord such and such," and everyone say, "Oh, Lord such and such wears a Namatsu kabuto, and it's beautiful and it's gilded and it's lacquered and whatever." Um, when they
Pete,
make these, even
I
though
love
I
this
can see the
helmet.
little tongue.
You know what it reminds me of? As if someone coming directly from Star Wars.
Oh yeah. Let us be perfectly honest. The costume designers in Star Wars were very much aware of Asian art.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
the the thing I feel about Star Wars is that from a design point of view, it's much wider in its influences than say some of the early science fiction movies were. It was just um, I don't know skin tight suits and things that had no cultural connection. I have noticed that the catfish is sticking its tongue out,
Yeah.
and I can see. I think there are its eyes on the side. I'm not sure, but that looks like it's thin sheet metal. I mean, the helmet again. You've got a solid helmet inside, but the decorations can be quite thin
Yes.
because you don't want it too heavy because you're wearing it for several hours. And you don't want those sticky up bits, the things that stick out. You
Pete,
don't
look
want
at
them
the
too
sheath
solid.
here. Look at here. You can see the
Yeah,
layers. You see?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is yeah. I really I've got to hand it to Japanese helmet designers. They came up with some of the most amazing designs.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, they really it's both humor and there's often quite complex relationships to myths. They're telling stories with the helmet. It's not just oh, it's a dragon's face or something like that. There's a whole kind of story behind it. And this goes a long way back in Japanese culture. I've got a copy in English of one of the early Monogatari novels about Yoshitsune,
Mhm.
the younger brother of the founder
Mhm.
of the Minamoto shogunate. The
Yeah.
first shogun was his brother, and this wasn't written at the time. This wasn't written in the 1100s. I think it was written in the 1300s or maybe the 1400s. I can't remember. And every single detail of somebody's armor would be described. They would say such and such stood up. He was wearing a green laced armor with black lacquered scales, and his bow was so many people needed to string it, and he had black lacquered arrows with red silk binding and osprey feathers, and everything that a person wore was a critical part of expressing their personality. And this is in a novel. In real life, it was like that. You're each, you know, important warrior wanted to stand out on the battlefield.
Yes.
They
Yes.
didn't care whether it made them a target or not. Probably they preferred it because it showed how brave they were.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
And this one is 1650, and this is also Onigashira no Kabuto. So it is an eccentric helmet, as the museum calls it.
Yeah,
And this shows a Ani, a demon. Look at this one. This one is also one of my favorites. It's
they're
really
they're,
beautiful.
they're, they're just so amazing to look at.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see. Did they say whether it was? See, again, that could be raised thin metal on top of a normal helmet bowl, or it could be lacquer work, wood and
Yes.
lacquer work. It really doesn't matter. It's the impression it creates. I mean, having a demon kind of staring. You got to look. I've never been in battle, so I'm, you know, not reliable. But my guess is that when you're really tensed up and there was hand-to-hand fighting, uh, this could be very disconcerting. Uh, you're not going to say, "Oh, well, he hasn't done the demon right." You're going to say, "Ah, it's a demon," and there's a man inside it. It doesn't matter. It's scary.
Doesn't matter.
Um,
It scares. Of course, it's scary. You know, he's a man
yeah,
inside, but still, yeah, I believe you.
yeah. Well, you're saying is that does this helmet represent his actual attitude? Oh, am I in really big trouble? I think you might be.
So,
Yeah,
Demon Hat helmet, beautiful. The
there's a
next
rather
one, yeah,
yeah.
is also beautiful.
Oh, that's
1580
stunning.
butterfly, right? So this Tsunari Kabuto, which is the butterfly one.
Yeah,
Look at
you
this.
see the
Yeah,
curled
yeah,
antenna and the butterfly wings.
yeah. Isn't it beautiful, Beat? Look at this one.
It's stunning. See, this is it. These are the things that could inspire costume designers for science fiction because these are alien looking, aren't they? I mean, they're just
Beat, we
incredible.
talked about armor, and now these are now helmets. This museum has one of the best Japanese arms and armor collection, doesn't they? They
Yeah.
really do. Really.
Whenever you see this stuff close up, you realize just how much detail, how much
Yeah,
skill in the execution,
yeah.
and I, this is abstract in the sense we know it's a butterfly. You can see it's a butterfly, but it's not a butterfly. It's not a realistic portrayal of a butterfly. It's how a butterfly can enhance your helmet and make you more impressive.
Yes.
And
Beat, look
even
at the
the
neck guard.
positioning of
The neck guard is the
yeah, yeah,
usual ones, right? But you
yeah,
see,
yeah. They look like small scales, so that's it could be Kitsuka Kazane, but I think it might be small scales.
mhm,
Um, the neck guards, the Shikoro, are they look, when you see the helmet like that, they don't look very effective. But when you see it on a person, they the later ones, like from 1550 onwards, I suppose, or maybe earlier, actually kind of very well protect the back of the neck,
Yeah.
which is what they're designed to do. But you can look up and they don't stick into you. You can turn your head. You can, change the angle of your head. It's quite practical. Because they're formed in rows, hung by lacing from each other. They're not oppressive. The heat doesn't build up in them quite the same way. So they're really quite effective and really quite nice looking. And
Yes.
they did put a lot of effort into them to make them look good. The other thing that you'll notice on Japanese helmets, they have this brim.
Mm.
It can be different on every helmet you see because this was another area where they would make it look unique. And the brim is practical. It stops a blade sliding off the edge of the helmet into your
Yeah.
face. It'll hit the brim and bounce out.
Yes.
It gives you a bit of sun protection, I suppose. Um, it also means strikes going forward have to cut through that piece of metal before they even reach the helmet. So it's got lots of practical uses. And the Japanese just went to town making different forms of it. Here we have a Jingas. Yeah.
Ejingas, 1850.
So, so this is towards the end of the shogunate. Um, these would be worn by retainers when the daimyo is going to Edo for his stay there. Um, he would have dozens and dozens and dozens of samurai walking alongside his palanquin, and there would be people carrying boxes with his precious possessions in it, and there'd be um, ladies in veils on horses, for his concubines and whatever. But the hats that his samurai wore were meant to impress everybody who saw them walk past. So sometimes the designs are quite bold, so they can be seen easily by people who are standing at the side of the road to let them go past and whatever. This is projecting power.
Mm.
The daimyo knew he was nowhere near as powerful as the shogun, but he wanted everybody else to remember that he ruled a province. He was a big man, and you see how beautifully the figures are done on that.
Yeah, they are really
I mean,
nice.
it really it's so impressive, and you got to remember that's going to be sitting on top of
Yeah.
the person's head, but often carried so that it looks a bit like a shield in a sense, and it could be carried. And so and there were all kinds of protocols on how you did this and how you did that
Yes.
because everything was organized.
Another
But
picture.
beautiful work,
Yes.
yeah. Again, I'm assuming this is steel top with lacquer and
Yes.
various other things.
Yes.
Well, I don't know whether it's embossed. If it's embossed steel, it's brilliant work. Any museum would be happy to have one of those.
Yeah,
Oh, this
absolutely.
is Nambana.
Namban,
Yeah,
yes.
European style
Yes.
Kabuto.
Yes.
So what they did is this is a caboose
Yes.
style helmet bowl, but
Yes.
the Japanese didn't like the cabooses in Europe where they were invented had a little spike that faced forward, but the Japanese didn't think that looked good, so they rotated them so the
Yes.
spike faced backwards because they thought that was a better arrangement. But they liked a lot of European things,
Yes.
but they didn't just say, "Oh, we'll do it like the Europeans." They incorporated it into their own designs. So, and you've got to admit, they do look rather impressive.
Yeah, they do. I really like that. I
Hmm.
really like this. Impressive.
I'm just thinking that where they put the thing to take the crest in the front there is probably where on an actual cover set there'd be a little tube to put a feather in, except it wouldn't be that shape. But it's like they've looked at, oh, how can we adapt this to what we want to do?
Yeah.
And also they've added a brim
Yes.
and oh, of course, Fukuyesi
Mm.
the looks like the I'm not sure, but it looks like the lames of the Shikoro may be single pieces of metal with holes pierced to take the lacing.
Yes.
Um, and the big fluffy, the big cloth wrap cord for tying the helmet on. This is critical for how Japanese helmets were held in place. There would be around the helmet, around here, here and at the back, you would have 3 or 5 little rings on the inside of the helmet, and that would go through those so that when you tied it together, there'd be loops that you would go through, and it would give you a face hugging wrap, which meant the helmet would not move at all. You could do a somersault in one of these helmets.
Do you remember we talked about another one from a Frankfurt museum, which was exactly like this, but multi-plated, lots of
Yeah,
and studded. Do you remember that one with river hats?
yeah. Well, this is the thing that the they're adapting. I mean, once you can make a multi-plate helmet, which could have, say, you've got a 32 plate helmet. I think there's 7 to 8 rivets per plate. It's an enormous amount of metal.
Yes.
And you look at this, and most of the rivets, well, certainly on the 2 helmets in the center and on the left, those rivets are to hold things that are inside the helmet, or in the case of the one with the brim, to hold the brim in the right place, and maybe also uh, to hold
This
something inside the
picture
helmet.
shows
The
these three of them next to each other, three of them only,
Yeah,
to see what Japanese armors could make. Look at
yeah,
them.
they incredible variation in design, different styles, all at the same time. There were people that could do all this kind of work. When the West, through Commodore Perry, opened up Japan, um, all of these guys lost their jobs because samurai was disbanded. There was nobody buying armor anymore. They were getting Western uniforms and guns and everything. So the people with all this skill had nothing to do. So they went into things like metal sculpture
Yes.
and all kinds of things that they then sold to the West, because in Europe it was the height of fashion to have some of these wonderful Japanese sculptures.